A very warm welcome to the Body Emotion Podcast, Pain, Posture and Emotions. Today we have such an interesting topic, how emotions relates to chronic pain. So we're gonna go directly into the subject. Stay with me and it's gonna be very, very interesting. How emotions are made. In order to understand how emotions relates to chronic pain, we need to understand how emotions are made. And in order to understand how emotions are made, we need to look at the brain first. We need to view the brain from a perspective that I'm going to share with you, and that is going to be based on the research from Lisa Feldman Barrett, who's a pioneer and reference researcher in the field of emotions. And the first thing you need to understand, now that you listen in me, you there behind you, whatever you're doing, you need to understand that the brain controls your body. The brain is controlling the systems of your body. But it's not just that the brain controls your body, it's that your brain is part of the body. So it's part of the system. People think that the brain is just utilized for seeing, speaking, thinking, and feeling. And that's true, the brain is doing that. But the brain is developing and enhancing critical tasks. And we're going to see this from an evolutionary perspective. A lot of research on pain is being related with evolution. And pay attention because this is very interesting. How the brain evolved to develop critical tasks in order to keep you alive and pass your genes into the next generation. That's what the biology does. We want to survive and we want to duplicate. Pain is an interesting, complicated, multifactorial phenomenon to approach in a comparative way. Why? Because in other animals, they have nociceptor pathways. What the hell is that? Okay, so let's put it this way. A nociceptor pathway is a sensory neuron that responds to damaging or potential damaging stimuli by sending possible threat signals to the spinal cord and the brain. So they are like emails. They are emails that they are sending emails to your brain. Okay, keep it that way. But the experience of pain in humans and pain-related behavior is very different in humans than other animals. Look how interesting. For some approaches and theories related with pain, there's been shown that there is a social signaling function, communication signal to request support because we are social animals and we regulate our nervous systems. So the presence of people can make the pain experience more or less intense. And there have been scientific research conducted in this way that the presence of people might feel less pain in persons with cancer and many other research. You can check them out. What you need to understand is that your brain, pay attention, your brain is always regulating your body. And your body is sending back data to your brain in a continuous way through your whole life. This is part of you. And your brain job is to process all that information to figure out what does that mean in order to know what to do about it and make decisions, decide. That is the complicated and the interesting thing. And stay with me because you need to understand this before we go to the practical stuff and tips, etc. But we need to understand the basis. And one of the bases is that emotion is a perception, and that perception that we experience, it happens before it comes into our consciousness. Let me put it this way, you're going to understand it. When we go to drink water, we are not thirsty anymore, but it takes 20 minutes for water to reach your bloodstream and change your osmolarity and tell your brain that there is hydration. It is a biological signal that it takes 20 minutes, around 20 minutes. Well, The same answer is for any sport. If let's say you're playing football, you're playing tennis, you're playing any sport, you're playing chess, your brain is preparing the experience before the sense data arrive. You want to anticipate. In case of food, it's very similar. But in other specific cases, it's much quicker. If I say, for example, a juicy apple, you might start salivating. A juicy cake, a juicy strawberry, fresh red berry. Your brain uses the neurological pathways to understand what an apple, what a strawberry, what a cake means in order to engage in the same neural pattern, because you have certain associations to that. So your brain, excuse-moi, so your brain is a prediction organ. It is predicting what's going on inside of your body and outside in the world, and it is predicting on the basis of past experiences what is to happen next. This is very important. The prediction begins with motor responses and ends with sensory predictions. So your muscles, your body, it's involved in order to anticipate into experiences. Those predictions are for pleasant experiences as well as unpleasant experiences and what we can identify like neutral experiences. As a biological system, your brain cares a lot about energy regulation and about glucose. It cares about comfort. Think about that. If you go to work, you always take the shorter path. You're not gonna go into a larger path because your brain is designed to save energy and about comfort. And that's because we have like a body budget. Body budget, this is very important. Your brain is running a model of your body in the world. Your brain spends an entire life in a dark, silent box called your skull and is receiving outcomes, sensory changes from the body and the world. And it has access not just to the cause, but also the outcomes. This is what philosophers call a reverse inference problem. So to clarify, your brain is making sense of the sensations, and the sensations from your body come from this ongoing regulation. Practical thing and interesting data. Being 20% of your entire metabolic budget is consumed by your brain. So your brain has a budget to utilize oxygen, glucose, in order to keep you alive. It's like there's income and expenses. For example, let's say that the income that you have is just food, sleep, rest, meditation, and we might understand the outcomes as learning, moving, doing physical exercise, getting angry. For example, exercise is a huge outcome, a huge expense, but it's a great investment because your body will be rewarded adapting into that situation and increasing your body budget. For instance, stress is a very, very expensive expense, such as depression, frustration, repressed emotions. That's because then people ask, why am I feeling so tired? I'm really tired. Well, because those things are very, very expensive and your body budget, it's going to be very low. Everything you feel, your brain is constructing. If your metabolic system is affected, your brain will learn less efficiently. And keep in mind this, if your metabolic system is affected negatively, your brain will learn less efficiently. And this is important because in order to approach chronic pain, what we need to understand is that everything that you feel, it happens on the brain. And in order to readdress that, to reprogram, to regenerate that situation and reverse it, you need to create new memories. You need to relearn, reprogram. But when there is things happening in your experience that they cannot be predicted by your brain, such as, for example, having a lot of pain at one point in your life, you haven't had that experience before, your brain cannot predict what to do. So you need to start learning. And this is really important, because if you don't do it, you will continue experimenting pain. So we can understand chronic pain such as a brain disease. It's a biological disease, like, for example, depression. So pay attention, because what it's important for you to understand is that either you have pain or either you treat people with pain, you need to make sure that you start taking small actions. You need to start taking little steps with small doses in order to send the signal to your brain of relearning. Those signals are a learning experience, and if you adequate that in every state in the best way as possible, you will recalibrate that situation. For example, it's been shown that the language you use to define pain or situations is really important, because it's not the same pain, distress, discomfort. So you need to utilize that language and also make people understand what was the right appropriate word. What we are talking about now is how we can influence our thoughts, because we can influence the physical body. So how does body budget play into us regulating our emotions? Because it seems that the body budgeting is very physical, and most people think of emotions as a psychological experience, only as a psychological experience. But everything that is psychological is also physical. Every emotion has a physiological response. Your brain is always controlling your body, and your body is always sending back data to your brain. For the most part, we are not aware of this process of sending and receiving data. Example, you are not aware the whole time about your heart rate, about your lungs being expanded, about your temperature, etc. This is called fixed action patterns. I've spoken about this in my YouTube channel, and it's really interesting. But these fixed action patterns, they allow us to live. Imagine you need to be aware about everything. It could be impossible. But when you have pain or there's something wrong in your life, you need to pay a lot of attention. You start paying a lot of attention into that. And it's what philosophers call tragic embodiment. And on the one hand, it's a way of efficiency, but on the other hand, it might be tricky because you can become obsessed about that. And if you can become obsessed about that, but you don't take actions, it's a positive feedback loop that is spiraling you down. Instead of this, what evolution has given us is kind of a workaround, which is the brain, as is receiving the sense data, is really compressing them and summarizing them, and we get a general feeling, comfortable, calm, uncomfortable. That's what people call mood. So those feelings are constantly there in the background, or it might be on the surface, but they're always there. These are features of consciousness that they are always with you. So what an emotion is your brain is making sense of your physical state in relation to what is going on around you in the world, using events from the past to make sense of the present and predict the future. Emotions are signals. And pain is constructed in the same way. For instance, in chronic pain like back pain, it is been shown that the use of opioids work really good because they work on the affective piece of back pain, because they are regulating a disruption in the body. You can teach people with mindful meditation, with behavior therapy, to separate out and sort of deconstruct their distress into just discomfort. It is uncomfortable, but you don't create a whole story around that and make it personal, deep, profound, permanent. There is a value in not mentalizing everything. This is very important. Living in your body. Stay in your head, you're dead. Stay in your head, you're dead. It's not a cure for everything. But when it's about emotions and your well-being, you have to stop thinking about simple single causes of things and start thinking more like there are a lot of tiny causes, and your job is to architect your life in a way that presents the maximum opportunity to your well-being. An integrative approach. Because the state of your immune system, and being you the host, meaning that the state of your body, so the state of your immune system, which is controlled by your brain, is also necessary but not sufficient condition for getting sick. So the state of your immune system is going to affect into the experience of pain, the experience of well-being, the experience of feeling happy, relaxed, calm. There's not a direct consequence. There are a lot of consequences. And that's important to understand. In order to summarize all that I've been explaining to you, what we need to understand is the following thing. Emotions are signals. The way emotions works is very similar to the way pain works. And we cannot separate anymore what is mental and what is physical, or what is physical and what is mental. Sometimes you find when I was doing this podcast, when I was preparing it, one topic that it was covered, it was that you might hear that emotions are stuck in your brain, in your body, and some people, some professionals says, no, that's not true. It's stuck in your brain. Emotions are stuck in your brain. And let me put it this way. Your emotions are stuck in your brain, of course, but your brain is part of your body. So your emotions are stuck or are in your physical body and your brain body because they are the same. They are connected. It's not just brain and body. There's a process that is controlled by the brain, of course, but the brain is part of the system. It's not just the system itself. That doesn't mean it's like, you have anger repressed in your liver. That's what is manifesting. That's different. That is what that situation is being manifested. That comes and it's storage probably in your brain. It's storage in your brain, but it's being manifested in your liver. It's being manifested in your back, and that's a way different than saying that your emotions are stuck in a specific muscle or just in your brain. They're stuck in your body because your brain and your muscles, they are the same. So, coming back into the chronic pain, what we need to understand is that chronic pain, there's no one specific and unique cause. And for example, the fact that you have chronic stress, that doesn't mean that is the ultimate cause of developing a disease in the heart. But if you add that you have stress, that you nourish your body with rubbish, that you're sedentary, that you're training into muscle failure, etc., they are going to deplete your immune system and you're going to gain more chances of getting sick. What we need to understand is that there is a lot of suffering. Life is complicated sometimes. And some of the suffering, we can't escape from it. We are all going to die. We are all going to experience friends, family members dying, getting sick, having a lot of troubles and situations that they're gonna be really difficult. But some of the things or some of the suffering is self-inflicted, meaning this, that we must take responsibility of our actions, of our moral and ethical responsibility of being, and make decisions to pursue our physical and mental wellness. This does not mean to pursue control in everything in your life, because that's an utopia. It is impossible. But we all have control over something. And we have control over what we think. We need to take responsibility or taking the choice and the decision of improving as much as possible our mental, physical well-being despite our conditions. And that's all I have to say. If you reach the end of the podcast, it's because you love it and you've been entertained. So I really appreciate you. It's 20 minutes that I'm sure it's worth it. Thank you very much. This is David El Corbarrutia reminding you to move pain-free and live. Please subscribe to Body Emotion Podcast, to the website. You can check the website bodyemotionweb.com. You can follow me on social media on Instagram and Facebook and help me out to grow this project to help more people to move pain-free and live. Thank you very much.